The screen is black. Soft piano begins to play a familiar melody, the kind that instantly pulls at the heart. Suddenly, quick flashes appear. The glittering lights of Beverly Hills, the shining limo pulling up to the hotel, and the faint echo of laughter from long ago. A voice cuts through the darkness, calm but full of nostalgia. It's been 35 years since a love story captured the world. It's a story of chance, of hope, and of two people from different worlds who found each other when they least expected it. Section 1. Opening hook and nostalgia approx. 2,000 characters, the screen glows to life with images of Beverly Hills at night. Neon lights shimmering against the wet pavement after a gentle rain. The camera moves slowly past the iconic hotel where it all began, lingering just long enough to remind the audience of the magic. A faint sound of Julia Roberts' laugh echoes in the background, layered over piano notes. The voiceover continues, steady and emotional. She was a dreamer, a woman who believed that love could rewrite her story. He was a man who had everything: wealth, success, power, but was missing the one thing he never knew he needed: love. The visuals shift to short flashes of the original moments, Vivian looking up at Edward in the hotel suite. Edward standing with the umbrella, Vivian in her red dress stepping out into the night. Each flash is quick, almost dreamlike, giving the impression that these are memories from another lifetime. The music swells as the narrator leans into the nostalgia. For years, fans wondered what became of them. Did fairy tales last forever? Or did real life step in, reminding us that even the strongest love can be tested by time? We see Julia Roberts now, older but radiant, walking down a busy Los Angeles street, her eyes full of wisdom and experience. Then Richard Gere appears, sitting alone in a corporate office, staring out over the city skyline. The shots are quiet, reflective, almost bittersweet. Now, after decades apart, fate has decided to write the next chapter. A story not about first chances, but about second ones. The music sharpens, growing stronger. A limo door opens. Gala crowd cheers. In the corner of the screen, Vivian and Edward lock eyes for the first time in years. Their faces hold shock, wonder, and something even deeper, an old spark reignited. The screen fades to black again, leaving only the sound of a heartbeat and the final words of the narrator. Because sometimes, love deserves a second chance. The screen opens with the sound of morning traffic. We see Vivian, no longer the wide-eyed dreamer of the past, but a woman who has turned her struggles into strength. She's standing in front of a small community center, surrounded by young women who look up to her with trust and admiration. She's guiding them, teaching them to believe in themselves, her voice calm but firm. A shot lingers on her hands as she holds a notebook filled with ideas for her charity. She smiles faintly, but behind that smile is a shadow of something else: alliness. Narrator speaks softly over these scenes. Vivian found her purpose in helping others. She built a life of meaning, giving hope to women who had none, but in giving her heart to the world, she forgot how to keep a piece of it for herself. Camera cuts to Edward. The once sharp, unshakable businessman is shown in a towering office filled with glass and steel. Papers scatter across his desk, and his reflection in the window seems older, heavier. His colleagues speak about numbers, mergers, and deals, but Edward hardly listens. His eyes drift to an old photograph tucked away in his drawer of photo. of him and Vivian from decades ago. He holds it carefully, as though it's something fragile, something that never stopped haunting him. Edward built empires, but he could never build the one thing that mattered most, a life worth sharing. For years, he buried himself in work, in silence, in the comfort of control, but the emptiness never left. The visuals become sharper. Vivian closing the doors of the community center late at night, Edward walking alone through empty corporate halls. Their worlds look different, yet feel the same, both filled with quiet longing. Both painted with absence. Suddenly, the screen shifts. A charity gala. Glittering lights, elegant gowns, the hum of conversation. Vivian is there, not as a guest, but as the heart of the event. She is its founder, its face, its soul. Edward arrives as a donor, another powerful figure seated among the elite. Neither knows the other will be there. The moment is electric. Crowd fades into silence as their eyes meet across the room. Vivian freezes for just a second, her breath catching. Edward stares, his hand tightening around the glass he holds. It's as if time itself has folded, carrying them back to that first night in Beverly Hills. The narrator whispers, 2 lives, shaped by time and distance, collide once again. Not by accident, not by design, but by something stronger. The music swells, hinting at both tension and possibility. The screen fades to black, and the words appear in bold letters. Sometimes the hardest story to write is the one you thought had already ended. Asterisk, the screen brightens with the warm glow of candlelight. Vivian stands on a balcony overlooking Los Angeles, the city stretching endlessly beneath her. Expression is steady, but in her eyes is the weight of years unspoken. Behind her, Edward approaches slowly, as though afraid to break the silence between them. "You look the same," he says quietly, almost as if speaking to himself. Vivian turns, her voice calm but sharp. "I'm not the same, Edward. None of us are." The moment lingers. The air between them feels fragile, like a glass about to shatter. The music drops to a low hum, giving room for the silence to breathe. The narrator's voice fills the stillness. Old wounds never fully disappear. They live in the spaces between words, in the moments left unsaid. The visuals shift into a series of flashes. Vivian teaching at her community center, her laughter masking a hidden ache. Edward staring at an empty dinner table, his hand resting on a glass of wine, untouched. A fleeting shot of the two of them walking past each other in a crowded room, close enough to touch, but unwilling to. Back at the balcony, Vivian's words cut through the air. "We had our chance." And then life happened. Edward's reply is quiet, almost broken. "Maybe we get one more." The music swells, strings rising as a montage begins. The screen shows fleeting, tender moments, Vivian and Edward sharing quiet laughter over coffee. The years melting away. A call back to the piano. Edward, sitting once again in front of the keys. This time, Vivian standing beside him, her hand brushing lightly across the top. A stormy night, an argument in the rain. Voices raised not out of hate but out of years of longing and regret. The narrator speaks with greater urgency. Love is not always about beginnings. Sometimes it's about the courage to begin again. The screen shows their hands almost touching, hesitating, then pulling apart again. The tension is thick, the emotions raw, and then a moment of light. Edward walking toward Vivian through a crowd. No hesitation this time. His eyes locked on hers. Vivian whispers, her voice trembling but full of hope. "And what if it's different?" "Now," Edward answers, steady and sure. "Then maybe that's the point." The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of their breathing, their silence saying more than words ever could. Text appears in bold, glowing letters. "Can love survive the years that separate us?" Asterisk, the music swells, shifting into a faster rhythm, strings colliding with drums, a pulse that feels like a racing heartbeat. The screen explodes with a rush of images, sharp and fleeting. Vivian standing in the rain, her hair plastered to her face, whispering something we cannot hear. Edward throwing open the doors of a boardroom, walking away from everything he once thought defined him. A younger man leaning close to Vivian, smiling as Edward watches from across the room, his jaw tightening. Vivian's voice breaking as she cries, "I can't go through this again." Edward slamming his hand against a piano key, the sound echoing like thunder. The narrator's voice rises, urgent and powerful. "When time steals years away, will love have the strength to take them back?" The screen becomes a whirlwind of emotion. Vivian laughing through tears as Edward reaches for her hand. A flash of the hotel rooftop, echoing their very first fairy tale ending. Their silhouettes framed against the Los Angeles skyline. Older now, but no less magnetic. Suddenly silence. The music drops to a single note, soft and trembling. A close-up of Edward's face, his voice steady. "So what happens after the knight climbs up the tower?" A pause. Vivian turns toward him, her eyes glistening. With a small, knowing smile, she whispers, she rescues him right back. The music erupts once more, this time a modern, powerful rendition of Uno. Pretty Woman filling the screen as the montage speeds up. Their embrace in the middle of a crowded ballroom. Vivian standing on stage at her charity, Edward clapping. From the audience, proud and unguarded, a kiss under a flood of city lights, passionate and unashamed. The screen cuts to black. White letters appear. It's glowing with intensity. Pretty Woman 2. Second CHNCS, the narrator delivers the final blow. Julia Roberts, Richard Gere. Together again. Because some stories are too unforgettable to end in just one lifetime. Final shot. Vivian's voice, soft as a whisper, carrying hope into the darkness. Maybe fairy tales do come true. Twice, the screen fades out with the release date, coming 2025. The screen is black. The heavy music from the climax fades away, replaced by a single piano key echoing in the dark. For a moment, there is nothing but silence. Then, a faint laugh breaks through the unmistakable sound of Vivian's laughter. Softer now, filled with wisdom instead of innocence. A slow fade in. Vivian and Edward sitting on a park bench at dusk. No red carpets, no luxury hotels, no glamorous ballrooms. Just two people, older and real, watching the sun sink behind the horizon. The camera lingers on their faces, not perfect, but honest, marked by time and life. Edward speaks first, his voice carrying a mixture of regret and longing. "We had the world once, and we let it slip away." Vivian doesn't answer right away. She stares at the fading light, her hands folded in her lap. Finally, she turns to him, her voice low but steady. "Maybe we were never meant to keep it. Maybe we were meant to find it again now." The narrator's voice returns, softer this time, almost like a whisper. Second chances don't come often, but when they do, they can rewrite everything. Gentle montage follows, different from the storm of the climax. These are smaller, tender moments, Vivian helping Edward loosen his tie as they laugh together in the mirror. Edward fixing Vivian's shoe in a playful callback to the first film, their laughter echoing like old times. A shot of their hands finally intertwining, firm and certain. With no hesitation this time, the piano melody builds quietly, accompanied by a soft hum of strings. The screen fades to black, then slowly reveals the film's tagline written across. The screen in gold letters, because some love stories don't end. They just wait for a heartbeat. Silence again. And then, as if winking at the audience, a final flash. Vivian leaning against Edward's shoulder as they ride in a limo through Beverly Hills once more. The city lights dancing across their faces. The trailer closes with a faint reprise of the classic line, this time spoken gently, almost like a secret shared with the audience. She rescues him right back. The title card glows once more. Pretty Woman 2, Second Chances. Coming 2025, asterisk. The screen has already gone black. The audience thinks it's over. Then a click of polished shoes against marble. A limo door slams. The screen lights up with a familiar street sign, Rodeo Drive. The camera pans slowly upward to reveal a high-end boutique. Its glass window, shimmering under Beverly Hills lights. Inside, Vivian stands in front of a mannequin dressed in a bold red gown, almost identical to the one she wore decades ago. She stares at it for a long moment, her reflection blending with the figure in the glass. She chuckles softly and mutters, "Guess some things never go out of style." A voice behind her responds, rich and steady, "Neither do you." She turns. Edward is standing there, holding 2 coffee cups, a small smirk tugging at his lips. For a moment, they just look at each other. No drama, no music, just silence layered with memory. Vivian laughs again, that same iconic laugh that charmed the world years ago. She takes the cup from him and shakes her head. "You still don't know how to order coffee, do you?" Edward smiles, tilting his head. "Guess I'm still learning." The screen cuts quickly to black before their conversation can continue, leaving the audience suspended in curiosity. Suddenly, the narrator's voice returns one final time, lighter now, almost playful. "Pretty Woman 2, second chances. Because some fairy tales deserve an encore." The screen flashes with one last surprise Julia Roberts and Richard Gere's names, bold and gleaming, before fading into the iconic guitar riff of "Oh, Pretty Woman," and then silence. Asterisk, the screen opens with a grainy film reel effect, flashes of the original Pretty Woman playing in silence, Vivian stepping out in the red dress, Edward leaning out of the limo, their laughter in the hotel suite. These moments flicker like precious memories, almost fragile, almost fading. Then the reel slows and transforms. The same Beverly Hills streets, but today, modern, vibrant, alive. A limo glides through the night once more, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The narrator's voice returns, softer, more reflective than ever. Once upon a time, love story captured the hearts of millions. Love story that reminded us all that fairy tales can live in the most unexpected places. We see Vivian and Edward walking side by side now, older but carrying themselves with quiet dignity. Their steps are slower, but more certain. Their smiles are gentler, but richer. A love that no longer has to prove itself, only to be lived. Vivian turns to Edward with a playful smirk. "Do you realize people are still watching us? Still waiting? To see if we make it work?" Edward chuckles, adjusting his cufflinks. "Then maybe it's time we give them the ending they deserve." The music swells, not just the classic "Oh, Pretty Woman" riff, but reimagined with orchestral strings. A full chorus, powerful yet tender. A final montage floods the screen, Vivian dancing barefoot in her living room, Edward laughing. As he watches her spin, Edward placing a small ring box on the piano, a callback to the moment that once defined them. The two of them standing in front of the hotel again, this time not as strangers but as soulmates, rediscovering what was lost. The narrator delivers the closing line, steady and timeless. Pretty Woman 2, second chances. Not just a story about love found, but about love remembered, renewed, and reborn. The title card burns onto the screen one last time. Pretty Woman 2, second CH&C essays. The music fades. Julia Roberts' laughter is heard once more, not from the past, but fresh, alive, echoing into the present. Then silence. Asterisk, the screen fades in slowly. No music, no voices. Just the soft sound of footsteps on marble. Vivian and Edward walk through a grand but empty ballroom, their silhouettes outlined by golden light streaming through tall windows. There is no crowd, no applause, no flash of cameras. Just two people who once belonged to different worlds. Now sharing the same quiet space, Vivian pauses, her hand brushing across a piano covered in dust. She presses a single key, the sound faint but resonant, echoing into the emptiness. Edward stands behind her, watching with a tenderness that speaks more than words ever could. A whisper of narration enters, softer than before, almost like a memory. Love doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it waits. It's in silence, in shadows, in the places we thought we'd lost it forever. Vivian turns toward Edward, her expression calm, eyes steady. She doesn't smile. She doesn't cry. Instead, she simply says, "It's not about fairy tales anymore." For the first time, Edward smiles fully, a smile free of restraint, of pretense, of fear. He extends his hand. Slowly, Vivian takes it. Their fingers lock, not with hesitation, but with certainty. The music swells gently, a stripped-down acoustic version of "Oh Pretty Woman" played on a single guitar. It feels raw, intimate, and honest. The final montage is subtle, almost dreamlike. Vivian and Edward walking barefoot along a quiet beach at dawn, their hands brushing against each other as they lean on the hood of a car, watching the city lights. A close-up of their faces, side by side, eyes forward, ready for whatever comes next. The narrator's voice returns one last time, low and resonant. Pretty Woman 2, second chances. Because some promises aren't broken. They're just waiting to be kept. The screen fades to black. A heartbeat of silence then, in delicate white letters, coming to 025, no music, no laughter, just stillness. The quiet power of a story that has come full circle.